Oh, look at these people
Hey
popping in like they
guys,
know what they're
Guys,
doing right on time. I like that. I like that.
how's it going, Paul?
happy,
Terry,
Good day, good fellas. How are we?
good. Happy Friday.
Happy
happy
TGIF.
Friday,
Friday.
guys. Ooh, I like the
Listen,
picture, Paul.
Thank you. I get a lot of compliments on that.
as a
Yeah.
Paul is full of bull. I see it right there. I got you.
Wow.
I got you.
I didn't know that's what it was telling everyone.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, it's recording right now, and I'm kind of thinking about just letting it record. I could
Yeah,
stop it and we could pregame, or we could just, you never know, right? Good moments happen when you're talking about stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I'll just, I'll
Yeah, me
just,
too.
I'll just let it roll. I know Leo is in here, but I assume he's on a call because he is camera and audio free at the moment. But we'll welcome him when he gets here. But it's nice to see you, gentlemen. It's nice to see
Nice to
you.
see you guys too.
You too. I am going to throw out the caveat that if I'm running solo here, so my assistant is at the car dealership picking up a brand new car for herself.
Uh,
So if I need to take a call or something, I might need to exit. Just so you know.
That's not a problem, man. That's not a problem. Yeah, listen, I am hoping, and it's a weird thought, but I'm hoping it's gonna be kind of a casual, flowing conversation. I know it's not a casual topic, but I hope it's a casual conversation about a difficult discussion.
Yeah.
So if you gotta bail, you gotta bail, and we'll definitely pick up the slack on that for sure. So the birthday celebrations for the gala lady went well all week, I assume.
Oh yeah, she had a great birthday week, honestly. She was very, very happy. So yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Good,
yeah,
good.
it
So
was beautiful to see. It's beautiful to
yeah,
see.
no, it was really great. We spent the day of her birthday, as you saw, at the zoo with the boys, and it was just she couldn't have been happier. So
Nice.
her,
That's a win.
so her birthday month ended. My our son Lucas, our youngest son Lucas, his birthday month is now. So his birthday is in. He informed me 11 days. So he told me that this morning. Can you believe it's only 11 days, Dan? And I was like, yeah, it's 11 days. So then that's May, and then my birthday month is June. So
Oh
so
my
so we
goodness.
got three in a row.
Oh
Nice,
boy.
nice.
So hold on. So Lucas is which day?
May 19th.
May 19th. I'm May 15th. So we are all
Oh,
Taurus.
so it's your birthday month too. I love it.
Yeah, it's all Taurus here.
Yeah, he's gonna be the big 1-1, the big
Yeah.
1-1.
Yeah, I love that.
I can't believe that our son Paulie is gonna be a teenager in November. That's the craziest.
Wow.
Just that is something. Yeah,
I
that's
know.
crazy to me how fast that time goes, man. They just keep growing. Fortunately, we don't age a bit, and I really appreciate that part.
I know. I'm still 21, so at
Right.
least no. Jojo will tell you it's more like 12 up in here.
I know that feeling,
Oh,
man. I
oh, the
know
other
that
day,
feeling.
So
the
the
other
so
day,
our
guys.
oh,
Oh,
there you
there he
go.
is. There he
Oh,
is.
Oh,
I heard this is the GQ chat line for the upcoming cover shoot. Residents.
we're in prep. Yeah, we're gonna get our model walk down. I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Right.
Got to work on my turn.
My birthday's in July, so I'm gonna keep that streak going.
there we go.
Nice,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
nice. Are you
What?
a
What?
Leo or a
Now
Cancer?
I'm a Cancer. That's
Okay.
where I get all of my
Leo,
connected side to
me and you,
myself.
Leo. Oh, he's a
Oh,
little, he's a little not great connection there.
Yeah, that's true, Paul.
my
You're a
my
little fuzzy, Leo. Not fuzzy, but the sound is
I'm a
Yeah.
breaking
little
up a
It's
fuzzy.
little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
seems like your connection's not great.
And you got a bunch of red lines. Oh, you're in the yellow now. That's good. Well, I like you going sideways though.
Okay.
That was unexpected.
That was unexpected. Had to surprise you a little bit.
That's
Got to
it.
treat you.
That's it.
Tricks up my sleeves. Well, thank you so much, Terry, for organizing this. And gentlemen, I've been looking forward to this conversation because, I know I'm 6'6", but I look up to all you guys. And the reason why I look up to all you guys is because you're in tune with your heart. I think us men were taught to think with our brains, but we're never taught how to feel with our hearts. And a lot of people kind of struggle navigating what we call this thing life, which is an internal experience, right? That happens with the brain and the heart. So I think people like you guys are very important, especially with us men, because we need to learn how to navigate that.
That's a strong opener,
Yeah,
Leo. I didn't know you were going to
yeah,
just
yeah.
come in and drop wisdom. That's a wrap. We're done. Thank you all for being here. Doesn't get any better than that, y'all. That's amazing. Good starting point,
Oh
Leo.
boy.
Thank you for that. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
So let's do this. Let's do it. Let's do it a little bit of justice. Let's talk a little bit about who we are, right? And what we do and why we're here. So if y'all want to kick it off and give us like, I don't know, a couple minutes maybe. Don't stand here for 20, but take a couple minutes and then give us the who, the what, and the why, right? So Paul, you're closest to the reason, literally closest to the reason this is even taking place. So, good sir, we're going to start with you.
Awesome. So, Paul Dries, married husband of JoJo Dries.
That's what it says in my phone.
I know. Um, I'm on the board of directors and married to the founder and director of On the Wings of Angels. In my professional life, I am a financial advisor and retirement plan specialist for Edward Jones. And my whole life is helping people, right? So whether it's in my career where I'm helping people with their finances or businesses helping their people, their employees with their finances and getting everybody to hopefully get more prepared for retirement. That's what I do on a daily basis, and I look at it as a mission for the community around me. And I love my job, and I love financial literacy. And my dad was a teacher, so I love being able to go in and hopefully educate folks that I meet with on their finances. There's a lot of misinformation or no information out there. And unless you had a good family that kind of taught you those things, or some kind of mentor, you're usually pretty far behind because the school system just doesn't do a proper job with it. So that's what I do on my, daily basis, but I'm also obviously a proud husband and father of two kids, two boys that are right now 10 and 12. Very involved in the Little League baseball scene right now. 4 games this week. We had a game last night, another game tonight, followed up by we have to be on the field at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So,
And
so,
Oof.
so much fun. But it's fun watching them and seeing their little competitive spirits and how they prepare and become the young men that they become. And Jojo and I have been actively from day one, training them to be good young men who treat everyone around them with dignity and respect, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, or creed. And I think that is something that is also extraordinarily lacking. And hopefully we can start the conversation. Everybody needs to be treated equally with respect, and all of this abuse garbage is it's 2026 people. Like, we should not be dealing with this, but we are, and the numbers just keep getting worse. So at least maybe we can start in our own backyards and branch out from there. I think that's what the hope for all of us is.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for making the time, man. We appreciate that and looking forward to hearing more of your insight because you got the front row seat, bro. And while I respect it, I certainly do not envy it. So thank you for all the great work that you do to keep propping her up and being the literal wings that she flies in on, man. I know it.
Thank
Man,
you.
I
Thank you, Terry.
appreciate that.
Appreciate that. And thanks for
Yeah,
having me here. It's pretty
yeah.
awesome.
Pleasure, pleasure. Rish, talk to us, bud.
Hey, so I'm Rish. I actually am a father first. I always genuinely believe that because earlier part of my career, I always used to say I'm an engineer, but a lot of things have changed since then. So I always introduce myself on anything, anywhere as father first because I'm a childhood sexual abuse survivor myself. I'm a suicide survivor, and I lost my father pretty early in age when I was 23, when I needed the most wisdom for adulthood. He was a teacher, just like Paul's. And after that, moved to this country without knowing anyone and $200 in two suitcases in Kansas. That's all I had. And since then, built my career, uh, built a beautiful family. But because of my not understanding life and not dealing with uh, all the trauma, childhood trauma that I actually went through. It all came full circle when my son was born, and I fell into addiction. And I actually ended up planning my whole suicide for a whole 30 days before I ended. And then CrossFit saved my life. And that's a whole story I wrote in my book. And it ended up really changing my life around COVID timeframe after my first divorce and really started questioning this man up culture that we have created around us, about boys and men, and how to work through that. And that ended up me launching my own platform, Dads and Deadlifts, where I started working and actually uh, interviewing people, men and women, men especially with what's the vulnerability and how it looks like, and women who went through domestic violence and how, as a man, what we need to teach our boys so that this doesn't uh, keep continuing. As Paul mentioned, like this is only getting worse and worse, the numbers, if you really see it. And it's on us. At the end of the day, we need to look at us and actually take accountability for it. And as a father of a son, same thing as Paul mentioned, I cannot echo it better, is that we need to teach our next generation, our kids, and it starts in our own home, that how to treat a woman, how to treat yourself first too. Have that compassion for yourself. That's the only way you can learn. And that's really my goal. Got into second marriage over the last few years, didn't work out. Really, again, took a leap of faith for my safety of my son and started building back up again. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, all you guys, I'm reaching out to a lot of people again, relaunching my platform with the new name, Dads and Dudes. And really, the idea is to have an honest conversation, going to the streets and asking every man what fatherhood looks like, what's a man looks like to them, what's the word brotherhood looks like. And same thing, asking women, what do they feel? How do they feel when they hear the word father? And what do they want qualities in their future partner? So, what are they teaching their kids? Because at the end of the day, we all need to come together to do this. So, I'm on my second journey of relaunching this and go from there. And also, 2023, I wrote a book, Break Up With Yourself, which ended up being an Amazon bestseller. And writing second book right now called Dead Man Walking. So
Nice. That's amazing, Rish. And we're gonna dive into a couple of things you said, and I can't wait to hear more about dads and dudes because that sounds fun. But thank you for being here, man.
yeah,
And Jojo gave me a little bit of your story the other day over lunch, so I was like, wow, like I knew that I was drawn to this dude, but I didn't know fully why. And just wow, man. So when I say thank you for being here, I'm not just talking about in this little video recording we're
right,
doing.
sure,
I'm talking about thank you for being here. And so thank you,
yeah,
CrossFit.
yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Mr. Leo, talk to us, man.
Yes. First of all, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to kind of be a part of this group. I think all of us in one way, shape, or form at certain parts of our life felt like we didn't fit in or we didn't belong or felt alone, right? And I think solitude is um, something that I dealt with earlier on in my life that you know turned me into the version I am today. And for the most part, I love who I am, right? But there is definitely a part of me that uh, feels very alone and feels that depression that we all can kind of go through at times. And for me, the reason why I ask people, what are your three gratitudes? What are your three gratitudes? It's because not because I'm a positive person, but because there's a sad version of me that still exists that I try to tame, right? So, you know, I'm also a guy that loves what he does and gets to do the things that he does with the people that he loves. I'm married and I have a child, I have a daughter, and now I'm about to have a son. So a lot of good things are happening, but people really don't know what happens behind closed doors, right? Um, and when things are going well, but things aren't going good inside, it means that there's a version of you that's not healed, right? So for me, the reason why I think God gravitated me towards you guys, JoJo, and this incredible On the Wings community is I think God gave me a healing community. And part of healing is how do we deal with anger, right? Like Paul, my wife, she's experienced being raped as well. And when I even think about that, right, it it boils my blood to the point where I don't know what I would do if I ever saw that person in person, right? But how do we deal with that anger? Because strength doesn't come from your ability to, cultivate a fist, right? It's your ability to withstand that. It's your ability to withhold that anger and do something productive with it, right? Leverage that emotion to something productive. And that's why I serve on them, because I use that anger and I serve the survivors. I survive you. I survive JoJo in a very proud way. What that does is cultivates this community. And when you have a community like this, and we are all authentically being ourselves, then we start to create the new cool, right? And I think it's not cool to put your hands on a woman. It's not cool to oppress a woman in any way, shape, or form. Leveraging your manlyhood to do so to uplift yourself. I don't believe that. I believe that the way you uplift yourself is you uplift others. If you were to lift something up and if you were to climb on something and you lift it up to the highest point, you look down and you notice you uplifted yourself. So I think God created this world, for us to, uplift ourselves by uplifting others. And what a great formula to do that, right? So, um, long story short, Japanese American, um, lived half of my life over there, lived half of my life over here, and I'm just trying to be a bridge between both of my cultures. And what I'm realizing is I'm being a bridge between young people, old people, men, women, as well as people for international divide, as we call it. I am on a mission for all of us to see the human race as the only race that exists, right? And finding common ground so that we can come together and create a better generation for our kids' generation. And let's stop the BS that we should be better than by now.
There's a lot of beautiful sentiment in that, man. I love your point about the three gratitudes. I want to dive into that a little bit too. And man, I tell people all the time, I work as a bridge. That's what I do, right? I'm the mirror and then I'm the bridge. So I resonate with that highly. And I kept thinking about a rising tide lifts all boats. And so that's what we're here to do, man, is like be that positive ripple that goes out and helps elevate people. I don't need to bring anybody down. And if you're one of those folks, I don't need to spend much time about you. My name's Terry Bean. I've been doing some fun, interesting stuff in this community. When I say this community, I mean the Detroit area for a couple of decades at this point. Started an organization called Motor City Connect literally 21 years ago and ran that up until COVID. Through that, TEDx Detroit popped up, and that's been going on for 17. We'll do our 18th one later this fall. I signed on for one, man. I don't know how the hell I'm still doing this for 18, but whatever it is. But I'm a believer in human potential, right? And what I don't see is enough of us living up to ours. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's head trash, maybe it's too many people trying to hold us down. Maybe we're listening to the wrong stuff, feeding the wrong things into our body, mind, soul, right? A lot of people are looking externally for things, and both of you, Rish and Leo, kind of alluded to the fact that it's really an inside out game, right? The truth is internal, not external. And we have to find our truth. We have to live it out loud. We have to live it on purpose. And there is nothing that grinds my gears more than people trying to hold other people down. And I don't care if that's mental, emotional, physical, intellectual, sexual, man, just knock it off, right? You don't have to pull somebody down to build you up. And if you do, you really need to rethink your structure and your strategy because that's not the way to elevate. Man, I'm not trying to stand on anybody else. I'm trying to stand on my own volition. And I feel like when we really get to know who we are and what we're meant to do, we can do this in a much better way without bringing anyone else down. So that's part of the conversation that I want to have. I've shared with JoJo because that woman is so damn easy to talk to. You end up telling her stuff you never told anybody in your life. But I was sexually abused as a kid, and I don't talk about that lightly, and I don't talk about it often. And I was young enough at the time, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And I'm not guessing, I'm saying when it happened, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. Um, that I know was abuse, right? Like I had this thing on me and I was like, well, that felt kind of good. I guess that's what we do with it. I thought it was just for this standing here and being. Turns out it got other purposes too. Um, and so that's a wild experience for me, but it's part of the reason that I'm drawn to this work because I've been on the wrong side of it. And the idea of empowering other people to get through their pain and turn it into their purpose matters a lot to me. And it always has. And when you find someone who's so brave and so fearless and so willing to be vulnerable and open up and share their story, you just kind of want to get out. And if you have any sort of platform, you just want to hand them the megaphone to make sure that more people hear about it and that it grows. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Um, Married, one child, 23-year-old daughter, about to get married. So I am a girl dad through and through. Been a big fan of girl power. My kid played baseball for 8 years before finally switching over to softball. So she was like knocking liners off of the boys for years, and I'm still loving that. So it's kind of cool. So that's a little bit about me, right? And more than I normally share with anybody. So, but the idea is let's open up, let's have the conversation, let's talk about what's right, what's wrong. Um, Curiously, as I was flipping through Facebook memories, waiting for this call to start 2 years ago in 2024, I made a post about the bear, right? Would you
Mhm.
rather have your daughter trapped in the woods with a bear or a man she didn't know? We all remember this conversation. It took over the web. And I would imagine that all three of you, like me, understand why the answer so routinely was the bear.
Mhm.
So let's start with that. What are some things that men do that make it seem like it's just so much safer to say, I'm gonna take my chances with this 800-pound grizzly as opposed to this 180-pound, I ain't gonna use any bad words here, this 880-pound fella. Leo, why don't you kick that off? What do you think is part of the reason behind that?
Yeah, I think, okay, so what I think happens is we kind of get groomed and programmed in a bit, right? From a young age. When you watch movies, right, all of the protagonists that we watch, they're womanizers. James Bond, player. Indiana Jones, player. Batman, player, right? These are movies I watched as a child. So growing up, more women equals more successful, more admirable, right? So what ends up happening is that men can find a good woman, but because in the back of their mind they wonder what it's like to be James Bond, what it's like to be Indiana Jones, and to have options and to have freedom, quote unquote. So then you experiment with that, and you experiment that not just from the point of view of curiosity, but also through looking at other men, right? For me, as a 32-year-old, when I was younger in my 20s, I would see people in their 50s, 60s, later on in their marriage, and seeing these people, right, go through a tough divorce or go through something really bad where they cheat on their spouse or whatever the case may be, right? Whether it's from a male or a female perspective. I'm only speaking from male's perspective from here, right? Something like that happens. And when you look deeper, right, they may not have had the fun when they were younger or the experience or that, tapping into that curiosity when they were younger. So they make the drastic change and they free themselves up, quote unquote, and they try to find themselves again. But for me, what I realized in that journey of finding myself was more solitude, more headaches, more heartaches, and more stress. So my thing is to any youngsters out there who is listening to this and who can relate to this, because we talk about movies back then. Today in social media, I mean, the men who are these kids are looking up to and how they talk about and treat women and what masculinity is, what toxic masculinity is. Like you hear these terminologies a lot. And I think we just lost the sight of like just, treating women as if they were your siblings, as if they were your aunts and uncles or your mom, right? Like, where is that line being drawn, right? Where it's just, there's so much societal pressure too. Like, if you have a single friend who's relatively attractive and you have another single friend who's relative, why aren't you guys dating? Or why aren't you dating anybody else, right? Like, there is so much pressure that whether it's social media or society that puts on these men, right? Unfortunately, and they have this unrealistic expectation of what it takes to fulfill them. And I think when they don't get that fulfillment, which obviously you won't, then people start acting irrationally, and it's just so for me, how do we solve that? I just think we need to reprogram ourselves, especially the youngsters, the benefit of finding a true partner. Like Paul, when I see you and Jojo and how long you guys have been and how much you've built together as far as foundation goes, that right there is what all of the younger generation should be looking up to and to try to pursue, right? Not the rapper on the stage that has, girls twerking in the front row. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so when we can change that, when we can not reinvent, but like kind of recalibrate what a hero should look like, right? And what a person
Yeah.
should look up to should look like, then people will start acting differently because they learn from a younger age, right? To follow that. So I think people like us, right, whether you're in a successful relationship or you're in a position where you've learned from your unsuccessful relationships, we should be talking about what really we should be pursuing, right? Not tell them how to live their life, but to let them know that all of the things that you see on TV and the music videos, they do not bring any more fulfillment. So don't even try there. Trust me, man. Just don't go down that road. Trust me. And let the kids make the decisions from there. So I think that's where I kind of see the pivot happening, where, a lot of this is the ripple effect of that. It's a long answer, but that's how I feel.
I love the idea of painting
Yeah.
a picture that people want to see themselves in, right? And so just changing that narrative. Paul, I think it was you. It might have been Rich. Somebody, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. So I want to kind of like piggyback off of what Leo said. Me and Rish had both mentioned the fact that the numbers are getting worse, right? That it seems to be like an even worse problem now when we should be more evolved and getting better. And Leo, you're right. Like, societally and, in the movies and in the music and, the magazines and everything, like that's always been a thing. But this is, you know, millennia of human existence where the patriarchal male dominated male being stronger, men being stronger, and like subjugation of women has been going on since the beginning of time. And what had happened, what I see looking back over the last like 100 years, is we were starting to kind of break out of that in a way. There was, the women's rights movements and the things that have happened and the civil rights movements and everything that's been happening, going through the 60s and, into today's day and age, where there was this attempt to kind of normalize the fact that, we're all created equally and there shouldn't be this difference. And we didn't quite get there. We still haven't gotten there. There's still the wage gap. There's still all these issues, but we've reversed in the current political shift that's happened in the last 15 years or so. There's been a pushback, and it's been an aggressive pushback, and the mentality is of the men in that vein of thinking is we're being emasculated. We're now the victims. Men are being attacked, and we need to stand up, and we need to exercise our rights, and we need to be masculine men. And a lot of it is right, what you said. A lot of the podcasters and social media influencers that are out there perpetuating this. And so I felt like we were kind of going away from the toxic masculinity, and now it's a doubling down, right? It's like, we're men, and we're sick of the way women have been treating us. So, we should be able to do whatever we want. So it is a deep inbred cultural, not even just cultural, but just like, male-oriented mindset that men are the stronger sex, therefore have the right to do what they want. And Terry and Rich, I'm sorry what happened to you guys as kids. Um, but it's the same thing. It's the quote unquote strong taking advantage of those who cannot defend themselves. And that's the reason why, if the answer is the bear, is because the bear, what a bear is. You know what a bear is capable of. And there are certain measures you can take to potentially, thwart a bear attack. You don't know the same with when it comes to a guy, unfortunately. And then taking it a step further with anybody who is like, weaker, this like concept of because I'm stronger, therefore I can do whatever I want. That's the problem. And you get these relationships and you hear these stories and you hear these men losing their minds, like, a woman leaves them and or offends them or whatever it is, and then they just lose it, and then they go on a fit of rage, and then they're and they're hitting and killing. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't even fathom the mindset that goes on in there. I never grew up with that. It doesn't even resonate. And I don't know how to solve it, but I think that the conversation is at least the starting point. And I'm super, super grateful that JoJo went the route of having male voices at the gala this year because Brian was right. It starts with men. The predominant aggressors here are men, and unless this gets pushed out in the open and men start holding other men accountable, we'll go another 2,000 years doing the same damn thing.
No, thank you. Hard pass. Hard pass. Rich, talk to us. What do you think, man?
Oh man, this is something so much to unpack. But I always talk about it in my podcast or in my first chapter of the book, is that it's not about how we are seeing this. It's a bear or a man, bear or a boy, however you want to say it. But at the end of the day, when boys are told from the get-go to subdue their emotions, to man up, to toughen up, you're teaching a generation to grow up who automatically is getting raised by objectifying other gender. For them, that's about it. Like, I remember I was in soccer team and I was in middle school. I was vice captain, which is uh, like like a captain, but not a full captain. But long story short, like I was injured, but I couldn't even bother to bring it up because of the fact that I will be ridiculed and I will be sidelined. And these are the things that I never thought growing up until I actually started the work on myself after all of this fiasco, after my son was born. And that's when I realized, like, it's not that we want to be that way. But as Leo said, as Paul said, as we all know, we are growing up in a culture. We grew up in a culture, especially our generation too. We grew up in a culture where when you're saying a man, a manly man, is riding a horse, Marlboro Man ad, do you think, and this is my question to everyone, everywhere I go, I ask them, do you think, could you even imagine that man would actually walk into a therapy lesson? That man would actually walk into a therapist office? No, I don't need therapy. So when we are creating that culture, that means you are teaching the men, the boys, the grown-up men, to hold everything inside of them. They don't know where that's gonna go. And guess where that gets transferred to? The women, to the kids, to other people. How many mass shootings happen? I actually did this research when I was writing the book. Now I don't know, but when 2020, 2021, when I was finishing my book, all of them were men and boys and men. And it's so easy to pinpoint that guy, yes. But then you are also realizing something needs to change. And that change needs to come with an understanding of masculinity, what's actually not working for us anymore, and what's actually going to work, and what is real masculinity. Real masculinity is serving, is taking care, is provider, not to be like, oh, I am the macho man and I am the provider. No, real masculinity is serving as a team, whether it's with your parents, whether it's your brothers, whether it's your wife and your kids, because your kids are watching you. My dad used to say this word a lot as a teacher, that always tell your kids like where they're going, because they're also not going anywhere else. They're actually seeing where you are going, the path that you are taking. And by the time it's too late, we go through this. And I am, especially, one of my problem was I didn't know how to channel. And I tell them different places is that a lot of people ask me, why didn't you tell your dad if that your dad was your best friend when you were abused for 2 years? I said, like, because I knew my dad will go to prison. If I tell my dad would have done something that I would have lost my dad. So I grew up with that mentality myself. And then when I had my son, I didn't know what was happening in me. I was just suddenly every night coming home and drinking myself to death until I actually one day I passed out. Like I literally, and that day I didn't even drink. Paramedic came, no one could find out what's going on. And that's when the therapy started. That's where, and that was also, no one actually helped me. All my friends were like, oh, man up, this is how it is. This is how it is. And that's where that word got stuck in my head. Like, what do you mean, man up? I'm telling you, like, I'm having a problem, but I still don't know what is it. What is it? I still have had no idea how to even identify what was going on until I went through a therapy. And then I found out, like, oh, body keeps the score. You are a father now. Your body is like, hey, you have a son. You got to protect him from abuse because you are sexually abused. And that's when I dropped down the piggy hole. Until then, I was just living on an autopilot, just like every man out there. Just autopilot. Like I didn't know what else going on. Hey, I'm going out. Hey, sure, let's grab a beer. Yeah, sure. You know, and what Leo said, high school soccer started getting fame. Yeah, girls. Yes, I was that guy because I didn't know. Like no one taught me that until it happened to me. It was so late, and I'm glad I found my fitness community and that changed my life. And I'm glad that this is where I'm at because I always say that the reason I understand the meaning of light because I had been in that mud myself. I had done those things and I realized what was not working without even realizing that's not working. And this is why I always tell my son is my hero because without him, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have even understood what was going on. And I think that's where the real conversation sits now, because this is what I always talk about. If my son, I refuse to give up rights for men and women, but I also want to teach the men, as Brian specifically mentioned, that we need to start with ourselves. We cannot point fingers at everyone because if I know I am raising a good son, if he gets up in 10 years, Lucas is turning 11, right? Paul, and
Yeah.
Polly is turning 13 in November.
Yep.
If they ask, what will be our response as parents, as men, as fathers? They will ask, hey, hold on a minute. I'm a good boy. I'm a good man. Why are they pointing fingers at me? Because we failed to do something that should have been done, but no one taught us.
Mhm.
So it's our generation, it's our time to learn. And at the same time, what I say is learn the softness from the women. Give it back 10 times. That's where serving comes. That's where you learn. That's where all the understanding of yin and yang happens. So coming back, I know I didn't get into why bear. I mean, this is why. Bear knows he can eat what he likes. What's a threat to him? For men, we don't know. No one knows what to expect. So
Can can I jump in there, Terry, real quick? So you hit the nail on the head, Rish. It's the therapy is crucial, I believe. You hear the headlines, mental health crisis, like we're in a mental health crisis. That is a huge, huge part of it because as human beings, we don't know, and this is no knock against us as human beings, but we don't know how to process the
yeah,
things that have happened to us in our lifetime. They happen, life goes by quickly, and these traumatic events get buried, and especially if they happen to you when you're a kid, and you don't understand the reason why you act out in the way that you act out later in life. And I think it is a huge, huge problem in our country. So I have an accreditation in behavioral finance. So this was a whole, course study, work and exam that I went through a couple of years ago. And it's on the finance side, but it's all the psychology of that. And it's the same thing. Learning to work with clients to try to navigate why they do the things they do when it comes to money. And the vast majority of that coursework talked about all the imprinting that happens on the brain growing up. And so your parents were like this with money and they taught you this and you didn't have money growing up, or your parents, had lots of money and spent frivolously or whatever it is. And then they grow up and they don't know why they're doing the things and why they can't save, or why they panic every time there's a downturn in the market or whatever it is. That was a very narrow focus, but it really taught me everybody has all kinds of issues, and it doesn't, some of it's money, some of it's sexual, right? Some of it's physical. But everybody has a story. Like no one has the perfect parents. I mean, very few. Um, Even those who had the perfect parents, like, get abused by others around them. We're just, as a society, we suck, and we've always sucked. But the only way to get to this next level is through therapy. I am 100% convinced of that, because until we conquer this mental health crisis, and especially with men, because the problem is, I said in my speech, strong men don't abuse people. It's the weak ones. It's the insecure ones. And we have a whole society of insecure men. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're supposed to be. So then because of that insecurity, that makes them feel really great and strong if they can be the man, if they can be the one that, I have my thumb on somebody else and that makes me feel bigger. It's just like that bully mentality on the playground, and they never grow out of it. Um, yeah, I agree with you. The therapy is huge. So good point.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you just mentioned, I also like to bring up is that the bully mentality and the insecurity. Because the problem is, if you're strong, you don't need to put anyone down. You
Right.
can hold in your own because strength comes from inside. When you are actually weak, you're actually trying to get validation, either by love, either by lust, or either by like bullying, or basically putting other people down some way or the other. And look at everywhere in the society, and how I don't know how big we're gonna get, but I very much open speak my mind. Look at who is all the political leaders in our countries, everywhere, right? And this is why we are looking up to people that this is how it should be if I'm doing this. And when you are around this culture, when you're around this, and not just in this country, everywhere, then you are learning the same way, like, oh, if they can do it and get away with it, I can do it and get away. And it's that mentality that we are actually seeing everywhere around us. And this is where the fear is, as good men, as men who actually want to change, be the change agent for the next generation. That scares me. That should scare all of us. Because, man, I mean, and this is why I always talk about, like, tomorrow, if my son says, God, what's going on? I am not a bad man, but someone told me that I'm not good. What will be my answer? And this is why understanding women is very important, because the question also should answer should come from them, and we should listen, shut up and literally listen and learn. Like, hey, what is a good man to you? What is a good brother to you? What is a good father to you? Because that's the only way we can pass that on. Because just because, oh, we didn't get it, this is how it is. This is how it is, then it always be it is. Unless and until we actually get in there and get muddy ourselves and actually make some changes. So that was my 2 cents. Kind of piggyback off your bully thing.
I think all that's really, really important, and you guys are hitting on a topic that I think really matters, is we need to redefine what the definition of man is. What is masculinity? What does it look like? Rish, you mentioned the idea of provider. I often think about the role of protector as well. But in neither one of those scenarios does it imply putting my hands on my woman ever. like ever, ever. So it's interesting. In 1999, I was going through my only divorce. I like how Rich said my first divorce, like he's like foretelling, the future. Um, I went through my divorce, and but while I was doing it, I was reading a book called Fire in the Belly, subtitled On Being a Man. And it was written by a fella named Sam Keen in 1992. And what it really talked about and laid the groundwork for is exactly where we are in society. Because what it mentioned is there was such a tremendous shift that happened so fast between gender roles. I was born in 1970. I know I'm the senior statesman in this particular call by a few years. And like it wasn't nothing to be seeing people on TV where the wife stayed home all day, had her pearls on, had her skirt, had her high heels and her apron so she could clean and she could cook and she could do the home things while the dad came home, put in his little slippers, grabbed his pipe, sat in his lazy boy chair, and did fuck all nothing for the rest of the day, but maybe clap, get me a beer, depending on whether or not he was a good fella. Um, that's all gone, right? I mean, that's gone. It might still happen in some weird little parts of the South, but that's not the world we live in. Heck, you couldn't afford to live in a house if it was just you working. Paul, you wouldn't need to have Paul manage your finances. You wouldn't have any. And so it's a thing that needs to shift and needs to be redefined. And I love Leo's point about how do we reprogram what that looks like. So, all that said, what's the definition of a good man? And Rach, I like that you said we should be involving women in this conversation because their opinion matters way more than ours does in this moment. But I look around and I don't see any in here. So I'm gonna have to stick with you three knuckleheads. So please, Leo, I had to mute you because the feedback was coming out of your computer. So I want you to talk about what's a good man, but you may need to unmute before you do, sir.
Sorry about that feedback.
You're good.
I think I think one thing that I want to answer this question by hitting two of the things that Paul and Rich said. One was about therapy and how important that is, and the one was about learning from women. And I think in order for us to, find a good man, I think we need to get closer to, finding what a human entails, right? When there's inclusivity going on, then the room is filled with men and women. And if this is a particular thing that we need to learn from women, then we need the women in the room. So I think the question needs to, kind of center around how can we be a good human? And then, we realize, okay, these are the special things that men do, and these are the special things women do, and let's be proud of that. And I think one thing we talked about with therapy, right? I think the reason why it's so hard for us men to go to therapy, I didn't go to therapy until I really needed to. And that was when I was about 31 years old. I was just beginning my family, and at the same time, my parents were getting a divorce, and my mom had to go and live in America, Japan. And not having my mom there, as I welcomed my new child, it was really hard because I relied on her with a lot of the emotional and sentimental things that I was going through life rather than my dad, right? And then my dad being there at that time, I was really upset with him because of the decisions that he made, and being in a position as a man to to not love your dad, right? Like that's a heartbreaking position. That's a pain that you're feeling every single day because you want to love your dad, right? It's an unconditional thing, but sometimes that's a little hard, easier said than done, I should say. So what I learned from therapy is there were just so many X's and O's of how to think that I learned in there that I was like, man, this is a course in and of itself. But really, what I learned is what Paul said. How does the brain work, right? Like this is a technology that's been around for millions of years. Like how do we use this, right, to in a proper way, just like how we use our computer, right? We don't have a tutorial, but therapy kind of helps you with that. So, one thing that I think we need to learn from women starts from a young age. When we were boys, for a room, we got a poster of our favorite athlete or our favorite movie star, right? And we look up to it. I want to be just like him. But a girl, one of the first things that they receive is a vanity. Look at yourself. Look to how to admire what is the part of you that you like and what is the part of you that you think you can enhance. So it's a very critical but like authentic way of looking at you, right? Makeup, I want to enhance me, but I also want to cover my blemishes, right? Real, authentic, straight to the heart way of analyzing yourself. So you grow up with that. And the other fundamental difference between boy and girl is that if a boy gets a haircut, shows up to school, or he dresses up to go to school, man, what you looking all fly for? You got a date after this? Look at Leo with the fresh haircut. Okay, okay, ha ha ha. Whereas a girl comes in with their, oh my God, you look so good. Yeah, right? One's uplifting, one is like diminishing, you know what I mean? But still kind of, right? It's confusing. So I think in order for us to be better evolved men, we need to learn how to look ourselves in the mirror, which therapy is. And two, we need to learn how to compliment each other, right? When you're kind to others, you learn how to be kind to yourself. And a lot of us men, we tend to be kind to others. We're nice to others, but we're unkind to ourselves. So there's a difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is a people pleaser, and you're going against how you truly feel. And then you beat yourself up for it, and then you go down the wrong path. But a kind person has boundaries. They know themselves. There's confidence. They know that their heart is abundant. So I give to you from my kindness. Not because I'm nice and you're pressuring me to, because my kindness is given to you. And I think that's where, like Rich said, it's about serving. That's where I think the new ideal masculine man needs to become, is a man who serves. I'm going to take your words, Rich.
I absolutely love that. And by the way, you look
Beautiful,
smashing
beautiful.
in pink and purple. I just want to put that out there.
Whoop.
There we go.
I mean,
Synchronicity, right?
on the wings colors all the way.
Yeah. Thank you
I
for noticing.
I want to say that the concept of that you can't be a strong man and a kind man at the same time is such BS. Um, and I think, I'm a masculine guy. Like I'm a sports guy. I played sports growing up. I'm super competitive. Like if we're going head to head, like I'm gonna try to beat you. Um, I like to flex my muscles and I like to, you know, lift stuff I probably shouldn't be lift. Like I'm a guy's guy all the way. Like, and I'm like one of the kindest guys I know. And like I have empathy for everyone around me and I truly care about people and care about their feelings and care about, how can I help? Those two are not mutually exclusive. And I think society has absolutely battered it into everybody's brains that they are. Like you can't be a good, kind man and have feelings. And just like you said, somebody said early on, you know, you man up, don't cry. Like we encourage our kids to cry. I'll give you an example. They had a baseball game Tuesday night, and it was unfair. It was we couldn't even believe our eyes. So they had a baseball game. They had an umpire. I mean, if this game had like a sports line bet on it, I would say that the ump had been paid off. I mean, it was bizarre. At least there was some favoritism he had towards the coach and the other team. Um, but our kids got up there and the other team batted first, and he wouldn't call a strike. It didn't matter if it was down the middle, and the other kids weren't swinging for some interesting, odd reason. But they scored 13 runs in the first inning before our team even had a chance to hit. because he wouldn't call a strike. And then our team got up there and everything was a strike. And the whole game went like that. And it was awful. And our team battled back and lost 14 to 12. Despite being down 13 to nothing. And I like the grit and the determination of our team, despite all that, was absolutely amazing. But it was bad. I mean, the coaches and all the parents were like talking to the ump, like, what are you doing? Um, and the kids were frustrated and they went home um and we were like, you let it out. And they both started crying because it was so unfair. Um, so me and Jojo actively have our boys cry, let it out. No one, no one ever better tell our kids to man up and not cry because we all have emotions and you need to let that shit out. Um,
Yeah.
Holding in emotions is I mean, everybody knows that inherently. We know inherently, like you hold your emotions in, it's gonna explode somewhere at some point. Like we're human beings, we're meant to be emotional. And they have done men such a disservice by this concept of, you need to man up and hide your emotions. And if you cry, you're a girly man and you're gay or whatever it is. Like, I mean, I remember growing up like that. Like, that was the thing. Like, you didn't do that, and
Rub
it's
some dirt on it, walk it
yeah,
off,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Boys don't cry.
yeah,
Man, come on, dude. I
and
heard
that
you.
Yeah.
and that still
Stop being a
exists.
pussy.
Yep, that still
Yeah.
exists. There's this. I'm not going to name names, but there's this person locally in the business community that I know that his son plays football. And his son broke his collarbone, had to go in and have surgery, and he sent him to school the next day after surgery. Like I just found out about this, and I'm like, and I know this dad, and I know that not like he's that kind of dad. You don't cry and you get right back up and you go, that's just wrong. So I don't know. That definitely is one of the biggest things I think that needs to change is that concept.
That's back to the programming Leo talked about at the top of the show, man. It's exactly the same thing. We're just constantly reinforcing that old tape, playing it back, making sure everybody gets to see it, gets to have their part in it. And that's what
Yeah.
I mean by we got to change that picture. So I'm digging this conversation.
Can I
Um,
can I
yeah,
say one more thing before
yeah,
we
of
jump
course.
into the next thing? Because I want to hear Rich and Terry. I know you guys speak, but just one more thing before I finish what I just said. Because I went through that internal work and because I went through therapy, my relationship with my dad right now is better than it ever was. Now, is it perfect? No, but my perception towards perfection has changed. Therefore, it's better than what it was. Did my dad evolve and change? That's not up to me. The old me would have cared about that. But the new me only cares about my development, where I stand, how I view things. And when you go on that path of manifesting in your own lane, but also taking care of what's happening internally, like Paul and Rich has mentioned, then everything else around you evolves too. There is something that happens where your world becomes better internally and externally. Thank you for letting me
Yeah.
share that, Brian.
Love that. Rich, what do you have to add?
So I'm gonna just do. I'm a writer, right? I express a lot with my words. Poet. I write, and one of the things that I always teach my son, and we started doing it when he was 6 years old. And every night he goes to bed, he say these three sentences, and now he teaches his friends. My power is in softness. My love is in kindness. My strength is vulnerability. I'm Rihan. I'm a boy. Literally, this is what we do it every night. This is
Rich,
how
say that
he
all
goes.
again. I want to hear that one more time, please.
My power is in softness. My love is in kindness. My strength is in vulnerability. I am Rihan. I'm a boy. That's all.
Love it.
Every night, every night, every night, every night, every night, we repeat this before we go to bed. The reason is I want him to never ever feel that outside because he spends most time outside, away from me, away from others. I want him to make sure he understands that he needs to wire his brain, tell himself who is he, than anyone else to tell him who is he. And to me, that's basically, I believe that's a good man. I believe that as a father, and now if I want to take it a notch, presence, being present, I think is probably the biggest thing. The reason I believe that because I miss my dad and I understood the value of presence he had in my life when I was growing up. No matter what it was, he would come at 11 at night. He would wake me up. That hug meant everything to me. And I want to make sure that that's where it is, like to serve, to be present, to actually be there. Because otherwise, we are always so, and myself included, don't get me wrong, we all have our seasons where you are really going at it for something, like, career wise, goal wise, whatnot. But being present gives you everything that you need because when you are present for anything other than other than anything else for you, that's all you need because you are creating a habit. And this is what I tell people. That's how I got obsessed with ultra marathons and running long distances, is because every mile I run, I actually genuinely live my life. I think about every mile. 100 miles don't come like that. 50 miles, you cannot just be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to look around. And no, it makes it easier when you are actually going through your life and you relive it. You live those moments there, that and that pain makes it much better. It never go away. As an abuser, as an abused kid, it'll never go away. But I found a way to relive it, and then I found a way to give that kindness back and understand that, man, I mean, I have it, still have it good. I'm here. I have a son. I'm healthy. And I wrote that in the gala post the other day too, that just listening to everyone, some of the stories. And when Jojo was reading that letter from that kid, from the survivor, that mom is happy, that's when you realize, like, we have it good. What can we give? So I'll just do that now.
So I love the idea of planting that seed in your son's mind every single night, right? That consistency, that nurturing, that putting it in there and in reshaping, back to the reprogramming piece is so important. And I think that's kind of where we need to move toward, right? What do we want to grow in men in the future? Because if we want it to be different than it's been, we'd better paint that picture differently and we better start empowering and start nurturing those behaviors. And it sounds like Paul's doing a fantastic job with his boys. Leo, I am certain you're going to do the same with yours. Um, it's fascinating to me that we have the ability to change those conversations. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because we've all got friends that are on various levels of enlightened kind, understand that there is one race and, we're just doing the best we can to support one another. And then we probably have some friends that are more closer akin to knuckle dragging Neanderthals. Maybe we've cut some of those fellas out of our lives, but we know who they are. Um, where do you stand on that? And then more to the point, how do you check your friends in real time when they're doing something or saying something or being off color? What's the demarcation point of I'm gonna let this slide because that's just who he is. He's just kooky like that, or that's some bullshit and you need to knock it off right now. Where's that line for you? So first the friends part and then the correction part. Um, Paul, why don't you start us off, man?
Um, yeah, I don't associate with a whole lot of knuckle draggers anymore.
Smart man.
I don't know if I ever did that much, but definitely more aware of it in the last several years. I think that kind of you can tell it unfortunately it's kind of along political borders, political lines at this point, unfortunately. But there's, I'm out in the community a lot, as you guys know. Out in various chambers, and we're always at events, and um, I don't even post a third of the stuff I'm at on LinkedIn because it would just get, I don't even have time to post it. So I'm out with all kinds of different people, but I've become very good at kind of reading people. Uh, and so whenever I meet somebody, I can kind of tell our like first impressions. Not always 100% accurate, but become pretty good at being able to tell. I had a meeting with a gentleman at lunch today. I'd met at a chamber event last week, and he works in downtown Utica here along with me, and he's in the mortgage industry. He owns a mortgage brokerage company down here, and we hit it off at a meeting, and we just had a great lunch. And you could just from talking to him, you could tell he gets it, right? He's just that just a different kind of individual. Um, and then there's other times where you meet with somebody and it's just you can just tell right off the bat that they're self-serving or toxic masculine and all that kind of stuff. So um I think I think with the platform that me and Jojo have, everybody pretty much knows who and what we are at this point without us having to say much. Everyone knows our viewpoint, and I'm not obviously shy about it, in person either. Um, yeah. But can you elaborate again on the second thing you wanted?
When do you check the behavior, or
Yeah.
what's the line where someone's like, whoa, 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 time out. That's inappropriate.
Yeah. You know, I look back on being younger and wishing I would have said stuff a long time ago. I can't say that I've really had found myself in those situations recently. I I'm a golfer, in a men's golf league. Um, Most of the guys are pretty gentlemanly there. I don't find a lot of crass talk. But I remember like playing baseball or back in my younger days, um, I know I let a lot go that I should have said something where I was like, just stuff that it makes you cringe. Um, and I just didn't say anything then, but I would now. I mean, like, I wouldn't give I wouldn't blink an eye to say something now.
Very cool. Very cool. Rich, go ahead. Talk to us. Same
Yeah.
questions about it. And real before you go, I want to make a point. I want to be mindful of the fact that the statement I made was very much generalization, lumping a bunch of people into a very big bucket. And people are on a spectrum and a continuum, and there's about a gazillion different lines from start to finish. So I think it's really important that we don't lump all people into a category because it's really, really hard to do, right? Nuance matters, and I want to keep that front of mind. So apologies,
Yep.
Rich. Go ahead.
No, no, that's fine. I think I was about to get in there. It's like having a podcast platform with interviewing people and having a fitness community, being involved and active in different areas. I would say that I have friends who, like as Paul said, he gets it, but not necessarily completely involved as I am. Right. And then there's some who do not get it at all. And those people don't exist in my life because you intentionally cut them off. The reason is, I mean, there are people, I mean, a few years ago, I was hanging out, but when you realize as a father, you have a responsibility who your son is around, who I'm bringing in his home, who he gets to see me working around. it's a very clear indication that no, those people will not exist. And and I'm a very open person. I'm a very cutthroat guy. Like I just not cutthroat. What's the word I'm talking about? Like I just say what I speak. It's mine. And always had been. And my father always told me something. I remember seventh grade, and he would give me these lumps of wisdom. And I was in seventh grade, and I grew up in a joint family in India, and about 28 people,
Hmm.
including kids, and it's huge, right? Like it's a big house, a big backyard, all of that. There were four brothers, so uncle everyone's has kids and all that. And there are some bad parts that he never liked. A lot of violence, a lot of like shouting, screaming, and all that. Like same thing we actually talked about. And my dad always would tell me something. I was in seventh grade, and one of the things that he told me then, no matter what it is, a man should never scream or shout. End of story. You can talk, you can handle it different. Other than that, and it stayed with me. So in high school, I had friends who knew that I was very vocal about that. I was very uh, like I used to be in martial arts, so I was very much about, hey, don't do that. And I had friends like that, and everyone was kind of be like, hey, man, Rish is there, don't screw it. Like he's gonna get mad at that. So my experience with that was a little different because I never let that thing slide. Recently, nothing really, as I said, like I don't even go uh, around or basically I don't put myself in a situation with people who don't get it. So I don't get to see it. But knowing that if something like that happens ever, I mean, I probably would jump in again because it doesn't matter to me that where you at or what you're doing. I think we talk about it in abuse culture. We talk about it in addiction culture. You see it, say it. And I was very much involved in human trafficking organizations, and I saw a lot of stuff. And that's the mentality we all should have. There's nothing to be afraid of when you're doing the right thing. At the end of the day, as long as you're doing the right thing. So
And we're just going to make an editor's note. He was involved in preventing and stopping and
preventing,
helping with
yes,
human
Well, he
yes,
said
trafficking.
yes,
organizations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just making
yes, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yes,
What's
yes, yes,
it?
yeah.
What's his
Just like
name? You weren't involved in like David Tate or what's his name? That Tate guy.
Tate guy. So
What's
one of the guys I was involved with. Oh, I see. You're talking about.
Yeah, he's like a
Oh,
human. Yeah, he's that podcast guy that's like actually a human
yeah.
trafficker.
I
His name,
worked a lot with the Jan Edwards. Her foundation is Paving the Way Foundation in
yeah,
Florida.
against guys like that, against those kind of people. Yeah,
Against guys like that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. I remember we were doing this seminar on call. It's a 7 day wake up world seminar, and someone called. We actually on live. Someone saved someone in Hawaii. I mean, it was amazing, and
Wow.
That's where I learned so much things that how much money it takes for the survivors just to get to the other end and all that. Like it was amazing to understand that and understand that things are happening around us we don't even know. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Leo, talk to us, man.
Yeah. So to your initial questions being about, um, what do you do with people? Uh, what's the terminology they use for
I
that?
use the word knuckle draggers.
Knuckle draggers.
Classic.
I think the existence of knuckle draggers, or your realization that knuckle draggers are around you, comes from your evolution. So if you are on this internal work journey, like we all are here, knuckle draggers are going to be more and more visible as you progress. And if you find yourself letting go of these knuckle draggers, you've done the right thing, because those are weights, right? And I think a good perspective to have, because sometimes it's hard to let these friends go or family go. But there's root people, there's branch people, and there's the leaf people, right? Leaf people are only there for you for a season. Branch people might be there for a longer period of time, but eventually you branch away. And then the root people, those are the ones that are going to go on this growth journey for you for a long, long time. So if you can identify that and you surround yourself with the root people, you know, and understand branch people or the branch people and the you know, leaf people or leaf people, then it becomes less stressful to you and it becomes less emotional because sometimes it can be. So I'll say that. So I've always, you know, growing up in Japan, I had a really good friend group. The reason why is because my sixth grade class, our teacher halfway through the year was diagnosed with cancer, and we had a substitute teacher come in, and we kind of all gathered together as a class to make this substitute teacher's life easier because she was the teacher for the special eds kids, so she had a lot of patience, but she was also super duper nice. So a lot of kids took advantage of this teacher whenever she came as a substitute teacher. But our class, as a collective, we said, let's make this lady's job easier. Let's be good people. And we all hung out after school, and we were the closest knit class, boys and girls, that I've ever had. So I think the reason why I'm good with navigating both male and female relationships is because I always knew how to become friends with both, right? But so when you have that close knit of a group, and then we grieved together. Our teacher ended up passing away, and we grieved and we collectively came together. And still till this day, it could be 11 years, 15 years later, I go back to Japan, that whole class gathers. Hey, Leo's back, let's all gather. You know, so I have that group of friends there. So when you have good core friends, you don't tolerate BS. So when I moved here to America and I had to go to 3 different high schools, I never joined any cliques. I was like, I like that guy from that clique, I like that guy from that clique, and I like that person from that clique. And we are still friends till this day. So I have an eye for picking people. Maybe it's because I'm a Cancer and I can feel people, but I have an eye for it now, right? But as far as like when do you step up and things of that nature, I want people to know, whoever's listening to this, what Paul said. These people who are bullying others or trying to oppress others, they're not the strong people, they're the weak people. And when you realize that, the battle doesn't seem as scary. Uh, an example of this, when I was in high school, um, there was a lot of race jokes thrown my way. Before anybody would ever ask me, hey man, what's your name? They would say, what up, Yao Ming? Because I was tall and Asian. And I hated that because I wasn't Chinese, I was Japanese, right? And just because I played basketball, and my response always was, yeah, I'll be Yao Ming and bust your ass on the court right now. You want to go? Right? Oh, like that's kind of how I handled it. There was another kid who was a senior when I was a sophomore. Every time I walked down the hallway, I would hear him go, da 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 da. Every single time I saw him in the hallway. I met him later on at a CVS pharmacy. Oh, hey man, what's up, Leo? All skittish. And I looked at him and I'm just like, hey, you weren't shit back then and you still ain't shit now. Right? So I didn't even have to confront him. He showcased his true colors himself. So, and then there was one other incident when I was on the basketball team where the coach wasn't there. And the team, as players, decided, hey guys, let's play black kids versus white players. Leo, you can't play because you're neither. And I remember they had this fun scrimmage, and I had to sit out, and I couldn't play.
Unbelievable.
Now, these are moments I could have stepped up to myself, right? And like Paul said, when you go through these moments, you learn, you grow, and you realize, right? So when I became an adult, I think I was about like 21 years old. I was working at a restaurant, okay? And I was working the front desk, and I had a mutual friend who ended up becoming one of those, what did you call those people?
Knuckle draggers.
Knuckle jaggers, right? Knuckle jaggers. I'm no longer friends with this kid, but at the time I was friends with this knuckle jagger. And what knuckle jaggers do is they bring more knuckle jaggers. So I was only friends with him, but he had other knuckle jaggers that he would go and hang out with when he's not hanging out with me. So one of those other knuckle jaggers were really jealous of me because whenever he wanted to hang out with the knuckle jagger, he would hang out with me. So he hated me. So one day I'm working at the front desk and I get a video sent to me on my Snapchat through my knuckle dragger friend's phone, and it's a video of this other knuckle dragger saying, "Man, Leo, man, you fucking bitch! I will fucking beat your ass whenever I fucking see your Asian ass. You fucking corny ass motherfucking bitch. I will fuck you up. I'm watching this while I'm at work. So I ignore it, right? Now he sees that I'm ignoring it. Now I'm getting it via text. You fucking Asian motherfucker. If I ever see you, I'll break every fucking bone in your body, bro. I will fuck you up. Like I said, I've never met this guy in my life. Okay. So I ignore that. I go home after my shift. I text my buddy because he texted me, "Oh, my bad, bro. My boy took my phone. Haha, that wasn't me." I was like, dude, if you were my friend, you would have told him and you would have scolded him on my behalf. So the fact that you didn't do that, nah, bro, I don't tolerate that. Peace. And I ignored him. I was like, dude, you are no longer my friend. You got no accent. Boom. Later on, that kid, that friend, you know, he was working at the same job as me because I had gotten him a job earlier on. So the fact that I was ignoring him at this job that I helped him get, now every coworker was like, yeah, I didn't like him in the first place. Now that you don't like him, now we really want to tell you. I didn't want to tell you because he's your boy, but we really don't like him because he never tips and he acts like a jackass towards us. I don't know why you still hang around with this guy. And I'm like, I don't either. So I don't. So one day I was working, a couple days go by, and I see this dude start like cleaning my bar in my section. And I'm looking at, wow, he's doing something out of his, he's serving me. He never does this. He must feel really sorry. So I say, hey, thanks for doing that, man. First time I acknowledged him. Comes up to me, he's like, hey, Lee, I just really wanted to say I'm sorry. You're a way better friend than he is. I'm so sorry I didn't value you. So sorry it never happened again. That's cool, man. I forgive you, right? That same day, my boy is working at the front and I'm working at the bar. A familiar face comes walking in. I'm like, where have I seen this guy before? And I'm walking towards the front and I'm trying to detect who this guy is. And he looks at me and he gives me this look like, oh shit, like that. And right when he gave me that look, I knew who it was. It's the dude from the video. He goes, what's up, Leo? And I go, oh, what's up, Leo, me? Like, what? You don't think I remember what you said? And right when I said that, the ticket for my drink order goes up in the bar. And I go, I'll be back. And I go to my bar and I make the drinks really quick. And my boy, my boy, he comes up. He's like, yo, he's so scared, man. He was so scared. You scared him. I'm like, I'm not done with him. Where's he at? Where'd you sit him? He goes, no way. So I go to the back and I see where he's sitting. And I put my fist down on the table like this. And I just go to his face and I go, so what do you have to say now? What's the deal, man? I'm right here now. How do you feel about me? And he goes, your vines, your social media bothers me. I think you should delete all of your videos. And it hit me. I was like, so this guy, so I asked him, I go, so you don't even know me. You only know me from watching my videos, but it bothers you that much that you're willing to threaten somebody's life for it? And he goes, and when I wrote it out for him of what he was doing, and that's the thing, it's the same thing with Eminem in his rap battle, right? When you write it out for people and you assess the situation and you bring the situation up front, then they're confused. And then they say, and I go, listen, man, don't ever mention my name and don't ever come around here. Don't ever make me know that you're talking about me or anything in that nature. Keep your name out your mouth. That's it. Okay? He's like, okay. So I bring this story up to not talk about how masculine I felt in that moment. I bring this story up to say these people who oppress are cowards. So if you have the confidence, right, to stand up to these people, do so, because at the end of the day, behind all of that, I'm gonna beat you, is just the scared little kid. So confront them in a way, not where you're gonna get in trouble, but draw that line, and you'll be surprised how fast they run away.
I really enjoyed the OG Leo that popped
Oh, I
out
know.
here.
I
I know.
know. That was
It was like
awesome.
straight gangster.
Yeah.
So good. So good. No, and you make such a powerful point, Leo, about you step up and call their behavior to their face and watch how fast they back down. Because that's the one thing that's consistent about them, right? No power, no bravery, full of cowardice, right? And they just used to being loud but not having any substance behind it. So I appreciate that. Leo, I'm
And
going
what
to come.
and that just to conclude that story real quick, important point. After I stepped away from him, all of my workers were like, "Hey, Leo, you're never mad. What's going on?" And then you explain to them, and now everybody's like, "What?" So the point is, there's more us than they are them. So that's another reason why you shouldn't be scared. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use Leo's story to transition us to the end of this conversation. So Leo just claimed they're cowards. You can stand up to them, right? Paul, what's your message to people that are either dealing with this, don't want to deal with it, or just want men to be better? What would you say that can empower that behavior moving forward?
You mean calling it out? Is that the behavior you're talking
Not
about?
necessarily just any of it, right? Doesn't
Okay,
matter
all of
where
it.
start to
Everything we've
finish.
talked about. Everything
Yeah.
we've talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on where you stand right now. I mean, if you are committed to change, committed to the fact that yeah, we have a problem and we need to actively work towards a solution, then you need to be vocal, right? And I honestly don't think it's just good enough that you call out a friend who's had, says something, crass or something like that, like locker room talk type stuff. Like that's basic. Um, I think you need to be vocal in even in like, social media sometimes. It doesn't have to be like JoJo all the time, but um, share a news story, a local news story of, of a domestic violence case and post that and say enough is enough and we need men to step up and call this bullshit out. So, it could be talking with your own friends group about it. Um, we want to just have fluff, right? This is a tough topic, right? It's not easy to talk about. It's pretty depressing when you think about it, and especially when you look at the stats. But it is a major issue, and I tell this to everybody. It is just like cancer. It affects everybody. Everybody knows somebody. They've either been personally affected by it, or they know multiple people in their network that have been. And just like, there's broad outreach trying to like can't, battle cancer, there needs to be broad outreach to battle this problem. And it's a huge societal issue. It's gotten worse. The numbers are worse. And so I think the biggest thing is if it takes men, and going back to what Brian talked in the keynote at the gala, men are unfortunately the vast majority of the perpetrators of violence against women, and men need to step out and start speaking out and calling other men into accountability on this issue.
Beautiful. Rish, talk to us, man. What can we do to be better men?
I'm gonna quickly say it like this. I interviewed Daryl Davis and Scott Shepard. If you guys don't know who they are, look them up. They're on my Facebook, the video, and then of course they are um, amazing personality on their own. Daryl Davis was a black musician, uh, renowned. He won CN Emmy Awards and all that. But the main reason he was famous because he walked into a KKK clan in Tennessee. And when I interviewed Daryl Davis, he told me something. Rich, there's no difficult conversation. We give the objective. There's only conversations. And he just, I would say, really made me believe the platform when I was launching in 2020. Because after I talked to him, that's when I actually finally believed, like, okay, I will launch this because I was having my own doubt. Who would listen about this man up culture? Who would listen? And then when I sent out, my goodness, my inbox was full. But coming back to it, the good men, it's be the bridge. Have that conversation. Calling out is not always the answer. Having a conversation, actually understand what their perspective is and give them a perspective for them to go and ponder and think. And like, because at the end of the day, unless and until like you do not want to change, there's always a piece in us that always stares back at us late night when no one's watching. That can be the man who's doesn't want to believe all this, or the man who is like on the fence. And the easiest conversation, or any conversation for that matter, starts with curiosity, like understanding, like, hey, why did you do that? What was your idea behind that? Because I had to confront my own abuses at some point, and I did that in 2022. It was a hell of a journey because I was like, no, I don't need that. No, I needed that, and I actually had to, and we all have to sometime. Like calling out is good, but real change will only happen in this space and the space that we are talking about, boys and men, how we can be a change agent and how we can be that source for women to feel safe. That's the only way it will happen is we sit down, we actually have a conversation, and do not ever believe anyone and all these age-old translation that we got as men that what we are doing is wrong. Because I tell you, I had imposter syndrome dropping my first episode of Dads and Deadlifts. Holy moly, I was like, oh no. But then after I launched, I stopped. That's why I'm bringing it back again. But I realized that conversation completely shifted. Everyone was open. Like the perpetrators are talking, the abusers are talking, the one who were abused is talking. But at the end of the day, that's where it should be. Gotta be a bridge. We gotta have a conversation. We gotta start having this conversation more and more. Uh, Platform good, no platform even better. Just when you're out, have a talk. Like, hey, because I'm always curious about people. That's just who I am. Like we all are in a way. But I have no problem like going to a person. So what's your name? And then once we find out who they are and actually have that conversation. Now, then it's your discernment whether you want to have those. I was gonna ask like your knuckle draggers or whatever, whether you can change them or not, because that's what Daryl Davis did. Because Daryl Davis walked into that KKK clan, everyone was like, "You are crazy." He's like, "No, I'm just curious. Why would they do that?" Ended up meeting the Grand Dragon of KKK, who is Scott Shepard. Scott Shepard, Daryl Davis didn't just go in and walk out just with Scott Shepard. There were 200 KKK members dropped their hoods. That's what Daryl Davis did. And that's where it started with a simple conversation. And what he calls always is there is no difficult conversation. There's only curiosity. There's a sit there and understand what their perspective is. Because everyone had a past. Everyone came from somewhere. And then at some point, some people decide to change, and some people decide whether you want to change, it's on you. But whether you want to be a change agent, that's even better because then you can change others. So I'll leave it at that.
I love all of that. For me, I think a couple of things. Number one, let's actually believe women as they're telling us these stories that these things are happening. You know why? Because they're fucking happening, right? Stop
Mhm.
acting like they're not. They are, they have, and unfortunately, they probably continue a bit. Number two, do your best to, if you hear something or see something, say something, right? Don't allow bad behavior to continue. And if you're not willing to make that step or that take that stand, find someone who is, because it's not just four guys sitting here and we're like outliers. We're the norm. We're just
Yes.
having this conversation and inviting you into it. There's plenty of fellas, far more of us than there are knuckle draggers. I did not expect that to become the term of the day, but it's kind of appropriate and funny, so it works for me. Um, and number three, and this question is for each one of you, and it's a simple yes or no question. Do you want to do this again?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Anytime. Yes.
All right, we got three thumbs up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will probably do this again, and maybe next time we'll actually have our poop in a group or our shit together. So when it comes off like it was a little bit planned. This was ad hoc, but I really appreciate the three of you for allowing me to steward this discussion, for being willing to join, for being so open, for being so vulnerable, for making so many great, usable points. Y'all did amazing. Thank you very much. And if you're listening, let us know.
Can I make one maybe one suggestion for our next one?
Absolutely.
I think we should invite some women and hear what they say of what they're looking for in a man, like what men or how men should behave. I think that would be a great next step.
No, we're against that. We're the patriarchy, damn it. I said, no, that's a super duper point. Yeah, man, because us sitting here in a vacuum trying to figure
Yeah,
out what it should look like is no different than what it's been for the past 2,000 years to your other
yeah,
point, Paul.
yep, yep, absolutely.
I'm with you on that.
Yep.
I'm with you on that.
Awesome.
All right,
Terry, thank
so
you for facilitating. This was awesome. I
Yes.
can't wait to be on the next one.
good stuff, guys. Good
Same
stuff.
here, Terry. Thank you,
Well,
guys. Really
well done.
appreciate it.
Thank you, fellas. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Have
Have
a
a good
great rest
Thank
of the
weekend.
you,
day.
guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Yep.
guys. Love
Bye
to
bye.
guys.
Bye.